On this episode of My Couch, Your Life, we will be discussing grief. You will get the stages of grief and you will get permission to grieve at your own pace. You will learn that grief is not a one size fit all. Everyone grieves at their own pace. So tune in to this episode. I look forward to seeing you there. Do you desire to become a better version of yourself? My Couch, Your Life was created to assist you in becoming the best version of you and to encourage you to live your best life. I'm your host, Dr. Patricia Busby-Robinson. You can call me Dr. P. I'm a licensed professional counselor who will bring a unique view regarding several topics that will be discussed on this show. A new episode will be available on Mondays at 5 a.m. bi-weekly. If you desire to learn more about the behavioral aspect of things and to have an occasional laugh or two, please subscribe and tune in. Now, even though I am a licensed professional counselor that's going to bring a unique view, I would fully disclose to you that this is not to take a place of a counselor. And if you do need counseling, please seek a licensed professional counselor in your area. Tune in. Let's grow together. Let's plant the seeds necessary for us to grow, but not just planting the seeds. We're going to water them with great knowledge and have fun while doing it. I hope to see you there. Welcome to My Couch, Your Life podcast. I am your host, Dr. P, and this is the premiere, episode 1. Grief is not one size fits all. So welcome, welcome, and welcome. On this episode, we will be discussing the stages of grief, the physical effects of grief, and things that we can do when we experience grief, because we all will experience grief at some point in our lives. It's a universal experience, you guys. So stay tuned. Grief is a universal experience that we all will experience at one time in our life. Grieving is a natural and normal thing. We all experience it. We all go through it despite our culture, despite our color, despite what we look like or where we're from. There are 5 stages of grief. The 5 stages was developed by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and it did not become popular until she wrote her book called If You Guys Ever Need a Good Book to Read on It. It was published in 1969, and it was on death and dying. And she became, the concept of the 5 stages of grief became popular during that time. Those 5 stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Now, even though I've named them in that order, they are not meant to be believed that they go in that order. As a matter of fact, they're non-linear. They are not, oh, I'm in denial right now, I'm experiencing anger next. No. As a matter of fact, people can experience these aspects of grief at different times, and they don't happen in any particular order. So if you have experienced grief or is experiencing grief, and I think it's something that we all experience, even if we've had someone die 5 years from now, 10 years from now, do not let anyone tell you that, wait a minute, you still going through that, you still experience that, you still feeling that, you still crying over that, because you can cry if you want to. You can go through these stages at different times, different phases. It doesn't matter. The year, it doesn't matter. I have someone that I've lost, and I could think about them or something happened in my life, and I'm crying. So it's okay to experience that. And I want you right now to give yourself permission to go through these stages and to feel what you need to feel. Release any emotions that you should feel. Now, denial is basically, it's one of the most common things to feel numb during the early stages. As a matter of fact, some people carry on like nothing has ever happened. Like, we know that, in our heads that somebody has died, that is important to us and all of that. But sometimes it's hard for us to grasp that has really happened, right? You have people going about it like just like nothing. I've seen in my own family, as a matter of fact, we can go to a funeral and it has not grasped, even with myself, that this person that has been a part of my life is no longer here. And I don't really grasp that concept until I actually see them laying there. Whether or not that's at what we call a wake for a Black community, know what I'm talking about, or at the actual funeral. But that is a part of grief, the denial, because it haven't grasped. And I'm gonna tell you, your brain, it takes a while, for the brain to catch up. And it depends on how close you were to the person, especially when it comes to losing a spouse, and I don't even like to using the word losing, right? Because they're transitioning. They have transitioned, because we're energy, we live forever, I feel. But they're no longer in this dimension with us. And it sometimes take a while for our brain to catch up with that reality, okay? Another stage is anger, which is a completely natural emotion. Is very natural and common for you to be angry. Death can seem cruel and unfair, all right? So when someone died before their time, or that you feel that before their time, you're angry. Maybe you had plans for the future with them, or it could be the way they died. You'll be angry, and that's okay to do, because even anger, anger get a bad rep, but anger is necessary. It's not what you do, it's what you do when you get angry. It's not anger itself, right? So it's common to feel angry toward the person that died. It's common to be angry with ourselves for things we did or didn't do before they died. All those things are very common. Another stage is bargaining, right? When we're in pain, and this is not even it can be grief on a lot of levels, right? Because grief, you can go grieve a job, you can grieve, but right now, and for this episode, we're talking about grief, grieving a loved one, a human, okay? But we can bargain. We will bargain with God, or we will bargain with whatever higher power there is. Hey, take me. They were good. Why did you do that? Or I'll do this. We will do that. And that's a natural thing to do. We will often also make deals with ourselves. It's all part of it. We want to believe, if we acted in a particular way, or if we did something that would have changed things, right? But most likely it would not. And we have to kind of get into a place of being able to accept that and not blame ourselves with the bargaining, because you could fall into the notion of blaming yourself, and you gotta give yourself grace. Give yourself grace when you get into that place of blaming yourself. Another stage is depression. We will have sadness, a longing. When we think about it, that pain can be very intense. That pain, depression, could come in waves over many months. Matter of fact, when a person passed away, we may not even experience it right then, right? It may come a month later, it may come 6 months later, it may come a year later. We just never know. But depression is one of the stages. Okay, life can no longer seem to hold any meaning to you. A lot of things can be going through your mind when it comes to depression. Another stage is acceptance. Acceptance about it. Okay, because it comes in wave, it can feel like nothing will ever be right again. And most people find that the pain eases, that the pain will ease, and it's possible to accept what happened over time, okay, gradually. So you got to give yourself time with that. And you may think you into a place of acceptance, and then when something happens or a holiday come in, you fall into depression or you get angry, right? So it just depends, because it's not linear. We can just go through these phases at different times, and we may think we're over something, but, and I tell people all the time, I don't like using that word either, over it, because you never get over the loss. You learn to live with the loss. You learn to live through the loss, right? And there is a such thing as dying from a broken heart. Research have shown a heart that is intact and after somebody experienced great grief and what it looks like. So there are signs that and evidence that it is a such thing of what we call a broken heart. And that does happen with people. But give yourself grace with that too. If you feel like you've accepted it, then you find yourself crying again, or can't get out of bed, or you just in a, just down. If you're depressed, get up, get the move, and get those feel good hormones to going, and so you can kind of shake it. Once you, I won't say shake yourself out of it, but once you start feeling those, getting up, doing something, the hardest thing is getting up out that bed, or getting up, doing it, or beating those thoughts, right? And I said beat those thoughts, or beat up those thoughts, because what you're going to do is challenge the thoughts that you may be having. And that kind of helps if you're having any negative thoughts, right? So, but acceptance, because we have to learn, especially if the death over someone very precious, we have to learn, and we can learn to live again while keeping those memories that we have of them very close to our hearts, very close to us. Those are the 5 stages. Now, there are some physical effects that can come with grief, and I'm kind of talking about the broken, broken heart, because I know we all have heard of it before. And if you've ever watched the movie The Notebook, and that is a good one, that when the couple basically dies shortly after another. I like The Notebook. I really do enjoy The Notebook. But if you haven't watched it, go watch it. But it's a great movie, but it also tells you how close somebody can be, when it comes to death. But they end up dying together, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the grief does affect the body, your appetite, your digestion. When someone dies, you may not be eating. You may not, have a desire to eat. Matter of fact, you find yourself difficult being able to swallow. Your food may even taste strange to you. Those are things that can happen. Those things that you may used to find comfort in is not bringing you comfort, right? Now, I would advise that you do try to eat small meals if you can, just to, keep your body going. If you go 2-3 days without eating, it's not going to kill you, but to keep your strength up, right? Because we get so caught up in routine with things. I don't know if you'll be planning things, stuff like that, but even we just don't want to eat during that time, and everything. We don't. Your sleeping could be altered. You can have trouble sleeping when someone you love dies. You can have fright. You could be frightened to go to sleep. You could have bad nightmares. Your mind could be racing, so it may be difficult for you to go to sleep. All of that is normal. Okay? You may dream that the person who died is still alive, and find out when you wake up it's very painful. When you go to sleep, you may dream of them. So a lot of things can affect your sleep as well. However, try to slowly get back into your nightly routine. Okay, you can try to take a bath or a shower before bed. is a great way to try to relax and to get into that, just to relax yourself. Exercising could also be very helpful in that way. Walking, yoga. But try not to get into bed when you're not sleepy. When you get ready to go to bed, make sure you're really sleepy. You can try to listen to relaxing music, things like that could help you to go to sleep. Try some natural teas that could help you go to sleep. That can work as well. Another thing that could affect is anxiety. It can make you feel anxious, okay, which could result in feeling breathless, having heart palpitation, or even panic attacks, right? Which could be real scary, because I know a panic attack and anxiety attack, you think you're dying, right? So it can even cause that. Now, exercise is a good way of dealing with that body's tension, okay? So you can try exercising. You can talk to somebody if you're really anxious, or you're depressed real bad. You can talk to somebody to help you work through that. You can also feel some physical pain. That's not uncommon when someone dies, because grief affects your whole body, and it also reduces your ability to fight even minor infections. Okay, so if you're feeling like, I'm more anxious than I've been, or I'm not feeling good, then don't be surprised at that, because those are symptoms. Okay, there are symptoms. Now, some people have reported they see, hear, or they sense the person that has died. I want you to know that is completely normal. Okay, while it may be scary and unsettling, it doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. Okay, because you can sense them. You could sense their smell. You could sense a strong presence of them, and sometimes these feelings can be very, very powerful. Okay, they can be comforting, but they can also be disturbing, right? It can be scary. It could be a scary thing. However, the experience is normal. Okay, because when someone close to you dies, you guys, it takes time for that brain to catch up. It does. We're still processing, right? And it kind of takes time for the brain to kind of catch up with what has really happened. Now, if the person's death was traumatic, that's even more difficult, because there is a such thing as traumatic grief. Okay. Now, is it okay to talk to the dead person? That's a normal part of the grieving process too, like with seeing them or sensing them. You may find yourself talking to them because your brain has temporarily forgotten that they died. So you may find yourself talking to them because you miss them. You find it comforting. So you're speaking out loud. There's nothing wrong with that. So don't think that there's something strange with that, okay? There are things that you can do to cope when you've lost a loved one. For instance, you can write them a letter, right? Because sometimes we kind of beat ourselves up. We feel that there's something that we could have said that we didn't say, or we should have said we didn't say, or things like that. Or, I've seen people that feel like if they feel they didn't do enough, or they feel like they had this strained relationship. Oh, if I had more time, I would have did this, I would have did that. One thing we cannot get back is time. Right? We can't get it back. We can't get time back. But we can move forward with what we have today. Okay? But if you get in that place, write them a letter. Write what you would have said to them in a letter. First of all, it helps you to process. It helps you to organize your thoughts. It helps you to, get a sense of peace since their death. So you can write them a letter. And I want you to give yourself grace. I can't stress that enough. Give yourself grace. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Do not feel you're going mad or anything like that. That is not a mental illness. Give yourself grace. Be kind to yourself. Because when somebody dies, that's very stressful. Okay, be patient with yourself. Learn about as much about grief as you can. If it's overwhelming, talk to someone. If you need to go see a therapist or a counselor, go talk to someone. It's okay to do. Don't be ashamed about it. Okay, Give yourself permission to get the help that you need when you're experiencing these things. Cry if you want to. Release any emotions that you need, that you may feel during that time. It's okay to do. Especially, you have the death of parents, of a parent. That is most people. I know I'm a parent, and I think it's natural order for my children to bury me as opposed to me burying one of my children. Right? It's just what we feel is the natural order of things. However, losing a parent is still very painful. You can, and depending on what age and what stage you were when you lost them, you can feel the range of emotions, feel lost, because our sense of identity as well sometimes is intertwined with where we come from, right? You may feel you got a sense of unconditional love. There may be a regret. If you had a difficult or strange relationship, you may regret what you didn't have, what you didn't do. Fear may make you think about your own death. Like it's closer than I think, right? We'll get a fear. You're changing of identity when a parent dies, right? Because before you were still someone's child, now you're looking like, wait a minute, what am I? You're still someone's child, right? So just think about those things. Loss of connection to the past, relief. If you've been looking, don't think that's, most people say relief. Really, would that be a thing? Yes, it is. If you've had a parent that you've had to take care of, they've been suffering from a lifelong illness, you might feel some type of relief after they die. This is normal. Do not feel guilty about it. It's difficult to watch a parent or anybody that you love suffer. And it's okay to want them to not be suffering anymore. So don't think that's strange that you feel a sense of relief, because that is also normal. It's not strange. It's normal. Death of a child. Like I stated before, most parents feel, I know I do, that is just against the order of my child dying before me. But those things that can happen, that happened to two of my siblings, we end up burying nephews. They were my nephews before their time. Okay. So that does happen. So when you have a child dies, a parent is especially unexpected or something like that. Even if it was expected, it is a shock. You can feel as a parent a loss of role. It can be guilt from it, depending on what's going on. You can feel like their death is punishment for something you've done. Anger and unfairness. A lot of things can happen. Loss of a role. When you have a child, you're a single parent. If your identity, that's an important part of your identity, that loss can be painful, but remember, you always will be a parent. You always will be a parent. Anger and unfairness, like I said, may feel they went before their time, right? Effect on the family, what this look like. What does this do to the whole family? And it can put a strain on the entire family, because you got to understand the entire family is grieving this. Sibling grief. You got that. They got siblings or other children. Difficult reactions from others. They may not understand. So you really don't know who you can depend on. But I can tell you this. You can find you some support groups and things like that. Because guess what? After a while, the phone call's gonna stop. That's with anybody or any part of the phone call's gonna stop. You may not feel you're being supported like you should, or the support that you feel you need, you may not be getting. So you may have to reach out and get you some support groups. You will get to a place where you can be able to cherish those memories. Find a way to share what happened. Even though it's something that you experience, it can still be used to help somebody else. Let me say that again. Even though what you have experienced may be difficult, may hurt, may be painful, you can still share it and help somebody else. You really can. Find reasons to go on. Find the purpose in your pain. Because there is purpose in your pain. Okay? And remember that you will smile again. I know that may be difficult for us to believe during that time, but you will most definitely smile again. Our big takeaways from this is that grief is universal. We all experience it. You grieve at your own time, your own pace. You grieve, you experience at your own time, your own pace. It's personal and unique to you. Right? Write your loved ones that have gone away. If you need to, write them letters. Release the emotions that you may feel. If you do need to seek a counselor or to get some professional support from it, reach out to somebody in your area and work and process through that. And remember, there is purpose in your pain. And there's a reason you can help somebody else no matter what stage you're in. Most of the time in support groups, you have like people there, but they be in different phases and stages of their grief. But the importance of support groups and stuff like that is so we can pull from each other, right? What stage you in? Hey, I can say I've been there before. Oh, hey, I've been there before. So it's a commonality, right? Even though it may not be exactly, alike of what I experienced, you there to show me that, hey, there is light at the end of the tunnel, right? There is light at the end of the tunnel. So give yourself grace, grieve, and understand that and know that you have a right to grieve. You gonna get through this at your own pace and your own time, and you will smile again. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, I'm asking you to subscribe today and to follow us on all social media platforms for show updates and upcoming guests. I hope you guys have a better understanding of grief and what those 5 stages of grief looks like. I really hope it was informative. I really hope you guys gained something from it. And listen, you will most definitely smile again. My uncle died, you guys, and I have laughed and I have laughed and I have laughed. There have been things that, I was sad at first, you all, and I was like, you know what? And I called him Bill. That was his, that's what we called him. I said, boy, you is the first person I know that has literally went in the ground, because I'm from Mississippi, so we bury you. You is the first person I know that have went in the ground and didn't even get eulogized, right? And I just bust out to laughing because that was the type of relationship that we had. Because if it would have been me, he would have been laughing too, right? So I'm at a place where I can think of some things that we've said, and I can laugh about it. And you will get there too. And it's, sometimes I'm sad, sometimes, I can laugh, but I can recall memories now and really have a good laugh about it. So I hope the information that you guys received from this episode is informative. I hope it gives you hope that you will smile again. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And I hope to see you guys back here again. We're going to have somebody on. I'm going to have 2 young ladies on. They have experienced grief. They lost their sons. And they're going to share with you, with me, with the world on where they are, where they were versus where they are today. You'll learn and you will see that it's not a one size fit all, as the title says. They all, even though they have similarities and similar stories, you all see that the stages and their process was different, right? So I will be posting when that's going to be airing. We're going to do it live on one Wednesday at 7 p.m. But I look forward to see you guys in the house, even on that day. And we'll be streaming that on all platforms, on Facebook Live. We'll be doing it on YouTube live. So tune in and check that out as well. I am your host, Dr. P. Okay, have a great rest of your day. I hope it's eventful. I hope you experience some supernatural things, miracles, signs, and wonders. And I hope it's full of peace and most and definitely full of love. See you next time. This is Dr. P from My Couch Your Life podcast. I want to take this time to thank you guys for listening, for tuning in, and I hope your morning starts off great. Okay, I would like you guys to subscribe to the podcast. I would like you guys to follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. If you got feedback, if there are topics that you would like to hear, want to discuss, please let us know. Okay, this podcast was truly created for people just like you and me, and I want you to remember the most important relationship you can have is the one you have with yourself, and the most important person that you will ever love is you. I look forward to hearing from you guys.